Welcome everybody. My name's Vicky Hanna and I'm going to be running this unit for you for Certificate 4 in Youth Work. The unit is CHCYTH014, Work Effectively with Young People in the Youth Work Context. So tonight is week 1 of 3 weeks. So we call that session 1. During this recording, I'm going to do just a brief overview. You do have these slides that are in your resources. If they aren't there, please reach out to your learner support officers so they can guide you. It may not have got into your portal. We want to make sure that we're looking after you that way. Part 1 recording is an overview, some of the theory, the key learnings that I want us to cover while we're spending 3 weeks in this space. And then part 2 is a separate recording of our live class. So I understand that a lot of people cannot make it to classes in real time. So we try and make the classes as relevant as we can, whether you were there or you were not there. So for those of you who do make it to class, it's a great recording and you're able to draw back on that as a resource, but it's also an opportunity for us to be able to work in real time and do the skills assessment and show other people what is involved in the role plays. So in part 2 tonight, we're actually going to be having some breakout room, unpack some of the meaning around what it is like to work effectively as a youth worker, and what are some of those micro skills? How do we take just what seems like a simple conversation and turn it into an opportunity to be able to really actively listen and respond in a way that is strength-based and person-centered for that young person? So we'll discuss that, going to small breakout rooms. People will come back and bring their findings. Then we'll have 3 of our learners tonight jump in and do the skills assessment in the role play. Now, when we do role plays in classes, we vary it. We actually go deeper. We do self-reflection. We get peer review from the class. We unpack what was it like sitting in that chair. And I even move that around and put another person's name in that space as well. But tonight's role play is about a young person called James and another young person called Emily. Emily is the primary client, and you will see her work in the assessment. And in one of them, we decided that we would unpack and debrief the other young person that's mentioned. I can do that in real time, but please, if you're doing your role play on your own, follow the instructions exactly as you are given them in your assessment. It is only in classes with an assessor guiding you that we can make some variations. I do actually make it a little harder, and of course you're on show, but it's also meant to be a safe, supported and supervised space, and a very rich experience about bringing the sector into your classroom live. We have a lot of sector workers, and we have workers who would love to be working in the sector. So I want to welcome our new learners. If this is your very first unit, we hope you enjoy week 1. Please be kind to yourself. It does take time, and I'll even ask the class to just give you some feedback. People who have maybe been there at 1 month, 2, and maybe even 3 months, to let you know that it does get easier. And the classes are your space to be able to ask some questions, help get some guidance. But if it's anything to do with starting, the learner support officers have a really amazing short recorded library on how to navigate that space, just finding your way around. And if you have not studied for a while, this can be a little daunting. So, but know that you've got a lot of support, and we're here to do that. So I am your trainer on a Tuesday night for this unit, and I hope that you enjoy it. So I'm going to just do some overview, some key learnings. Before we do that, I'd like to do our acknowledgement to country. So we acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where we work, study and live, and pay our respect to elders past, present and future. We celebrate the stories, culture and traditions of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders of all communities who also work and live on this land. I would like to extend this acknowledgement out to all of our Hader learners, those who join us in classes, and those of you who may be watching this recording. And I'm coming to you tonight from Tarraballand, Bundaland in Queensland. So the Learner's Guide does relate to self-harm, abuse, suicide, sexual assault, violence, addiction and eating disorders. These are a lot of the primary concerns that impact on young people. So some of the content in your Learner's Guide can be triggering. I want you to know that there is a 24/7 number that you can reach out to, and that is Lifeline 13 11 14. And if you're a First Nation person, 13 Yarn. There's a website for both. There's Headspace, there's Beyond Blue, and there's YB Blue for young people as well. So please, we know that not only are workers impacted by some really stressful and trauma impacted stories, you may have a lived experience. It's very important to me that you feel safe in our classes and that you reach out. So as a youth worker, you will be dealing with matters like this. However, just when you're studying, make sure that you take your time, do it in shorter bite-sized pieces. And if you need that support, then reach out to those free call numbers that are there. Lifeline are very used to students calling. Online students, people who go to school, people who are at uni, and they struggle with some of the content and even the work-life balance of fitting study in on top of everything else. And remember your why you want to do this work, and know that this will be very rewarding for you at the end. But please care for yourself. Our workers need to make sure that we look out for each other and that we have some really good professional practices to be able to care for ourselves. So we don't need an emergency procedure. I do want to say that I sometimes forget to stop and give everyone a break. However, the class is very engaging, and so no one really wants to jump out. But there's no emergency, but your structure and the overview, I unpack some of that in our live, but also your assessment requirements. And I'll share another document with you and walk you through what that is as well. So by the end of this session, we'll have a look at what is happening in a young person's day. We even give an example of we're all youth workers, we're running a program, and we have a couple of young people actually go through some conflict with each other. But that's really someone in our live class tonight said that's the iceberg. What we see might be the tip, but it's everything underneath it. And then, of course, the rights and responsibility of those young people that we work with in Australia and the behaviours of young people. I talked to you about how others may label behaviour of concern. However, we go to that space of and what else. So it's what your studies and your knowledge and your assessment guide you in being able to have that understanding to do this work. In your project, you need to be following, which is task 2. Task 1, of course, is a quiz. Task 2 is your project. But in the project, it wants you to do some research around the ages and stages. So when we're referring to ages 18 to 25, it is still a young adult. The courts definitely view it that way. So does Services Australia. They still see a young person as that. And so do Centrelink or Services Australia view that a young person is financially the responsibility of their family. And if an income, so it's very income tested. So they still view a young person up until including the age of 24 until they reach 25. However, the work that you and I will do is usually from 12 to 24 years of age, which is what we view youth. And now we're doing a lot more work from that age 7 through to 9 all the way through. It used to be 12 for early intervention and prevention. Then it moved to 9. Now we're finding that because life moves so fast for young people, that we're finding ourselves in that space of working earlier with them. So we want you to have a look at what childhood and what's it been like over the years and the decades as well. Even things for you a decade ago, different might it be for young people now. Then we want you to do some research when you're doing your project. It is around the historical. Once it used to be that a young person would get educated, find employment, leave the family home, get married, only left when they got married, and then form a family of their own. And then away we went. That was what used to be what a family context was like. It's very different today. And we talk about what are those transitions. So what are the age-related laws, age of consent, age of legal purchase and consumption of alcohol, driving, employment, leaving school. Current concerns, what are young people facing, family, school refusal, personal mental health. 1 in 4 young people are impacted by mental health at any given day. Ability to cope with stress, their mental health, bullying, or more recently cyberbullying, drugs and alcohol, climate change and the environment, employment, and world events. We know that young people were very impacted by COVID because their whole community connection is often through school. And if they were working, a lot of that was actually unavailable to them. So they're very impacted because 100% of their lives was around that connection. Who am I and where do I fit in? So with young people today, communication is different with mobile phones and laptops, some online conferencing, social media, different search engines. Who are their role models in that virtual land? Bluetooth, electric and hybrid cards and assistive technology. Some of these things are so familiar with us now. Like if you're a learner at Hader, you're in and we're virtual and we run our classes as interactive as we possibly can, even though a lot of my training is done outside of Hader face-to-face. I like our classes to be very engaging so that I bring that classroom and the sector into that space. It could get very one-dimensional, and so you need to balance that. I know that when you come into class, you're working from home and I want you to manage that space, whatever is most comfortable for you. You can work at your own pace with our studies. You've got all of the resources, and of course you can reach out to our learner support officers if you need help, and then being able to put your assessments through, and if maybe it's almost there, we'll give you some feedback on how to fill those gaps to get you there. So that's completely different to how study used to be. So how are young people experiencing the world that we live in now? And do some reflection around, how much time do you spend on technology in a day? How much time do young people do that? The pandemic and how that did affect young people was really challenging. We saw a drop in education and employment, 2019 to 2020 as well, negatively affected through that connection with their wider community. 70% of young people said that they had impacted them. And the psychological distress. Tonight I talk a bit about psychache. The 8% increase was during COVID, the pandemic, and how the impact left young people feeling. And of course, it affected everybody. But in a young mind, we're working with some different developmental stages and the concept and and an adult may have other activities that they can do that's within their control. But for young people, often their community is primarily work and school and their peers as well. So it created a lot of hardship in families, and young people were also put under duress. It saw an increase in domestic family violence because those stress levels went up. They were some triggers. So in your project, we want you to explore that. Oh, sorry. So the findings on what does worry young people in 2019 was around there. This is in your learner's guide, and of course you get a copy of these slides. The political and economic context around youth is where are the government spending taxpayer dollars, and wherever that funding goes, that is where your work will be. So in youth homelessness, it has increased. That was 2018, 2019. In your project, I want you to research and then cite where you found that information. Just watch that you don't copy and paste AI. It will get picked up in your studies. It's automatically picked up. So if you get feedback from an assessor and it says, we just want to say to you, great work and good research. However, we need you to put it in your own words. So copy and paste will get picked up. Even if you are referencing something exactly, it'll come up and the assessors will interpret that for you. But the rest of your work needs to be in your own words. So by all means, use AI for it's a very fast search engine. However, what we need for you to do is build your own responses based on your learnings and your knowledge. Use those search engines and AI to help you find things that could normally take you hours, and it'll do it for you in sort of 3 minutes, depending on what you use. It's also a great tool to take a question and then see that expanded on and explain it. It's another way to learn because we all have different learning styles. So we're not saying don't use it, but we are saying you cannot use that information and use it as your own in your assessments. I hope that makes sense. And if you're not sure, please reach out to our learner support team. Make sure that the content you've got is evidence-based, comes from a credible source. Who are the most vulnerable groups? Who are more likely in that cultural context, and who are less likely to achieve those full potential or their optimal outcomes in education, experience positive identity, well-being and social inclusion? What's happening for young people? And it's state by state and territory. Can be quite shocking. One of your research areas, here it's going to research what are the legal responsibilities that come into effect when a young person turns 18 that did not exist 20 years ago. What effect has these new legal responsibilities had on young people? When you do your project, you've got to back that up with it. We give you the template and we guide you on where to go with that. What are the legal responsibilities? What are the things that they have the right to do? What's the Charter for the Rights of a Child? Australia is a signatory to the United Nations Geneva Convention. Now this is here because it's actually in your assessment. Dignity to young people, taking their rightful place in the community, how we work with them, and how we model that behaviour for them as well. You'll hear us do this in action in our part 2 recording for tonight. So just like to wrap that up there for you, let you go through your slides. I hope you really find them a great resource, and your learner's guide is absolutely incredible. It's a very, very useful resource, and you will apply that in lots of areas as well. So I just wanted to, I had really wanted to, is to just give you a little bit more information as well around the the instructions for you for your role play. And just move me out of there. Give her a bit downloading. Okay, so this one here is your task 3. So you can see up the top, CHCYTH014. Task 1 being the quiz, task 2 being the project, which I just spoke about briefly for you. Do your own research. And then task 3 is your skills, or we call them your skills assessment, your role play. But this is about what type of youth worker are you going to be. We give you those micro skills. You will see 3 different people tonight do that role play, and next week we've got quite the list. I think there's 6 or 7 people booked in to do the exact same role play, but every single person will be very different. So your style is great. Think about what kind of youth worker do you want to be in this space. So just in the overview, it tells you that you are a youth worker and you're working for your hypothetical organisation, First Access. At the beginning of the instructions, we take you into First Access. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So your role as a youth worker, there are 2 parts to this role play, and you will see both parts play out. We'll do one part first, but the second part will be sitting around a complex situation. Your role is to de-escalate that and then be able to respond effectively. So that's the name of the unit. That's what we need to see you demonstrate in both your knowledge, your written work, and also your demonstrated skills. So part A is about a young woman who has recently relocated and feeling some pressure in the family front. And then part B is about responding to the incident that involved Emily and another student at the community centre where you work as First Access, and then document the incident appropriately, and then make sure that you're filling in the case plan as well for part A. So let me just show you here in First Access First Access will, why is that not coming up for some reason? It is not. Let's see if I can get it back to that space for us. Apologise. Oh, there we are. Sorry about that. So item 1 of 3, when you open up your instructions, it will say the following assessment tasks are used in a simulated community service facility. That's your organisation for the whole of your qualification. You will play a staff member who works at this organisation. This here will take you into that space. You'll click on that link. You will use your username, Hader Institute, and your password is Hader123456. Keep this. This is something that you can save on a Word document. You are going to go in and out of this space multiple times. There's a lot of templates that you're going to use on a regular basis, but your policies and procedures sit there. And when you work for a new organisation, every organisation has policies and procedures. It's how we get our first roster. We need to sign on and do part of that onboarding. So it asks you to go and get some resources. So you need to log in first before you can actually go to that space. The second part is about telling you about you, Bella, the youth worker, Bella Reid, and you need to simulate that background environment as well. It gives you the role play instructions to give to the person who plays Emily for you in class. That is, someone will play Emily and someone will be you, Bella, the youth worker. And then, of course, the client report template. You can see here that we've given you the link to both. You'll go in and you will open up both of those, and it'll give you the form, the template, the client report. And the client report is you're going to fill in information based on the questions that you ask and the answers that the person who plays Emily gives you. We'll demonstrate that for you in our part 2 recording. And then, of course, the other part of this is the incident. So you'll need to go to First Access where we were. So you'll need the incident, injury and illness record, which is reporting an incident. The mandatory reporting policy, you'll need to read that and understand it. And then the incident, injury, trauma and illness policy and procedure. So there is an issue there, and I do want to say that I believe we'll have that picked up for you. Put in this in your search, and that will copy that, and that will find you the one that you're after. And then just put in that, and that will find the one that you're after as well, just in case the codes have been updated as well. But if you are stuck, please always go to your learner support officers. So just want to bring your attention up here. It says task 3 of 4. The 4th assessment is when you go on work placement. Okay, so you'll be doing 3 before you go on work placement. Task 1 is the quiz, task 2 is the project, task 3 are the skills, the role plays, and I'll wrap up here so that you can go into part 2 and watch people demonstrate what the role plays like. We'll explain it first so it makes sense, and then I'll give you some guided tools as well. We'll talk about those just to be able to assist you. I'll stop sharing for a second. And I'll close it for the night. But I want you to wait and go into part 2, have your learner's guide, download that. If you are just starting, make sure you open up a folder and call it Certificate 4 in Youth Work 2025, if that's when you're starting. And then open up subfolders. This subfolder would be called CHCYTH014. When you're booking in role plays, you go to learner support if you're not doing them in class as well. But of course, if you've got any questions that need answered, just ask in class, or if you can't make it to class, let me know. Just say, hey, Vicky, I can't make it to class tonight. But I will always ask you, is there anything you wanted me to add into the night? And I'll make sure that I put that in our feedback section for you as well. Don't want you to feel that just because you're not in class, you haven't got that connection. Okay. So stay tuned, and I do want you to watch part 2. It goes a lot longer, but you'll find it very rewarding. 3 really great learners and some fantastic feedback from everybody else in class and some peer support, and you'll see how we work with our own strength base and our reflection and our wraparound support for our peers, and how we apply that over for our clients as well. So thank you. Hope you enjoy this very first week of the unit.